It's update time for World of Tanks today, and we're going to be going through everything that you need to know for the next week. Obviously, we looked at the brand new buffs yesterday in yesterday's video, which of course you can have a look at. It's part of the Jaeger buffs, so if you're on your way towards the German tier 10 tank destroyer, then yeah, that video will probably help you out with what tanks have been buffed and the kind of information regarding that. Anyway, with this specific video, of course, we'll be looking at what's changed with the game and going through all of the operations, sales and stuff like that that is in World of Tanks console. So first things first, we have, of course, the Black November Special Sales Week 2. So this features the Crimson tanks, which come in for Black November, which is basically all of those high earning potential tanks that just earn a ridiculous, and I mean a ridiculous amount of silver per game. And so we're going to have a look at those and which ones you probably want to purchase. Now this is for just 1 week, obviously, so you can only purchase these tanks for this week, and trust me, these are pretty rare tanks that you can't get that often coming on sale. So if you are actually really wanting one of these, to be honest with you, I'd pick it up now. You're not really going to get a better bundle, although, you know, it will cost you quite a bit to be able to pick up these tanks. Oh, so Crimson Tanks bundles, so what are they? Well, of course, the first one, we get the Crimson Collection, being able to pick up all 3 vehicles that is part of this Crimson tank line, which is, of course, the Ragnarok T-34-100, a Tier 8 Czechoslovakian medium tank that has that autoloader, 320 damage per shot. You've got 3 in the clip, 1.8 second intricate reload, meaning that yes, you can pump out 960 damage very, very quickly with this thing. Coupled with the fact that it's got 175% silver earn rate, as with all of these Crimson tanks. So if you do purchase them, you'll be getting 175%, which is, to my knowledge, the best in the game for silver earn potential within any tank in the game. Of course, the Cold War tanks are probably going to earn you more silver per game, but the actual flat bonus is the exact same on some of them. Anyway, what does this tank offer? Well, it's a fairly fast medium tank, 54 kilometers an hour, 960 alpha in the clip. It's got a fairly mediocre damage per minute of a medium tank of about 1,800 per minute. You've got pretty much no armor. It's just like the T-34-100 on the tech tree, of course, being the tier 7. You really don't have much armor, and so you have to make your shots count with this thing, and that's where the autoloader mentality, poking around a corner after you realise someone's fired, dealing your 960, pulling back around that corner, having received absolutely no damage, and that's where the Ragnarok will really come into play. Of course, your vision range isn't awful, so you'll be able to boost that up with some things like advanced optics and, of course, crew skills, and so this tank becomes actually pretty decent and pretty overpowered when you get that 960 damage off against some of the opponents that you'll be facing. And with the penetration values as your standard ones, standard rounds, they're not going to be particularly the easiest way to pen some of the tier 10s that you'll come up against with this tank, but with the premium rounds you'll pretty much be able to go through the front of most tier 10s, at least, unless you come up against some of those really heavily armoured tanks like the Type 4, Type 5, some of the German heavy tanks and the Jaeger and stuff like that, so it might be a little bit more difficult, but to be honest, you'll probably be able to go through most of their weak points, and often you get the side or the rear of the tank anyway with an autoloader, or at least you should be if you're positioning yourself correctly. Then we get the Hydra IS-6, of course the tier 8 heavy tank for the Russian or Soviet line, and this one is basically a buffed IS-6, doesn't really have any armor, to be honest with you, gets the 440 alpha over the 390 that the IS-6 gets, I believe, so you got 440 like the Defender, and you of course get that 175% bonus silver, making the tank somewhat more bearable. I think this tank actually got a few buffs. DPM is pretty atrocious, looking at about 1700 roughly, base that is, and of course that can improve with advanced loader, as with all of these tanks. These are just the base statistics. Vision range is pretty much useless. You're not going to be really able to spot or outspot many tanks within the game. Top speed, 38 kilometers an hour, fairly okay. I don't think the tank is particularly overpowered, nor is it terrible, but it probably isn't one that you'll want to actually purchase because the armor model for a heavy tank doesn't really work because it just isn't that strong. Then, of course, we get the Minotaur KV-5, the Tier 8 Russian heavy tank as well. This one also gets the 175, and this one is probably a bit more interesting. You've got the speed of the tank and the sheer volume and mass of the Minotaur KV-5 to be able to ram into opponents, and this becomes pretty interesting. You get a meaty amount of hit points, 1780, decent penetration on the Minotaur KV-5 now, meaning that yes, you can actually earn a load of silver by firing those standard rounds, and then the damage per minute is actually not too bad for a Soviet heavy tank. You're probably still looking in the region of about 1600 DPM, but yeah, it's kind of one of those that you have to take with a pinch of salt. Of course, when you're playing Tier 8 heavies that aren't necessarily those overpowered ones, you kind of have to take some negatives, and I guess the Minotaur KV-5s is that the DPM isn't amazing, but it certainly gets its rounds out in enough time to be able to kind of combat some of the heavy tanks at that tier, and the penetration is absolutely fantastic on the premium rounds to be able to go through a lot of the heavies you'll be facing. It isn't preferential matchmaking, so it does go up to tier 10, meaning your armor is pretty much useless against some of those tier 10s. So don't go thinking it's going to be a super heavy that's going to definitely bounce a load of rounds. But at tier 8, it may well do, and definitely against tier 6s and 7s that you're coming up against, you can reliably bounce some of them. Of course, 21,580 gold is something I wouldn't necessarily really recommend spending on all of these. It's a good, okay deal considering they don't go on sale very often because they are kind of like the prestigious elite tanks that only really come on sale every year, once or twice maybe. So yeah, I guess if you really want these tanks, then yeah, 21,580 gold, roughly £60 or just under that, is what it's going to cost you. So about £20 per tank. The Ragnarok itself is probably the one that you want to get first. Then you probably want to get the Hydra IS-6 and then the Minotaur, or you can vice versa with these two. It's really up to your personal preference. Of course, if you want to pick up any of these tanks on their own, as what I would probably do, because I probably wouldn't want all three, is of course picking up the Ragnarok first, 7,620, get a 20% discount. It's not massive, but it's, you know, enough to make it somewhat worth it if you want to purchase a tank. And then of course we've got the multi-tank bundles, which give you the selected, which is 11,450, comes with a broken E25, the Chimera with that high alpha damage medium tank, and the Hollenhund or the LE KPZ M41 Walker Bulldog at tier 8, that's the German one, so it's like the German version of the M41 Walker Bulldog. 11,450, that's not a bad bundle considering the tanks that you get. And then of course the Power Play Trio coming in with the Chrysler K, the Somua and the KV4 Kraslavsky, all pretty okay tanks. My favourite one in there is of course the Somua SM, then you've got the Chrysler K, and then probably the runt of the litter here, the KV4 Kraslavsky is just a pretty much useless heavy tank. It's a rear-mounted KV4 that just gets penned all of the time, and it really is so situational with that side scraping that it can do that it really isn't that useful. It's so slow. It's not a particularly good tank, and I don't think that this is the bundle I would really suggest to you guys. Definitely if you can pick up the Somua, that would be a good tank if it was on sale on its own. Now, similarly, with the sales, we've of course got premium time on sale, and I must reiterate, as with last week, that 50% off 360 days of premium is the best deal that you will ever pay for on World of Tanks, aside from the season pass, which of course makes you your gold back and gives you plenty of rewards. But aside from the actual season pass, this is the best deal you will ever pay for on World of Tanks. It gives you a flat out 1.5 times more XP, 1.5 times more silver. gives you so much in terms of the game that you'll be able to progress faster, you'll be able to upgrade your tank faster, means that you don't have to play stock tanks for as long. You've got all of the different benefits that come with premium account, both direct and indirect, as we've talked about. And so I think that this is probably the thing that I would focus on my gold on to begin with. Of course, if you've already got it, then you don't have to worry about it, and you can take advantage of the 50% off cosmetics, skins not included, and 25% off equipment. And if you want to really milk the silver from your game and the amount of silver earning potential, buy your equipment now, and then if you need to sell it at some point, you can basically sell it for only a cost of 25% of the equipment value, because you're saving 25%, and then when you sell it later on after this event ends, you will actually sell it for half of the full price, so it won't cost you as much to equip all of your tanks right now as opposed to previously, and then you can always make your half of the original cost back. So that's always something I always do. And if it is a 50% off equipment, that's a fantastic time to put equipment on every single tank that you own, because you can essentially sell it for free. Of course, with the 25%, you will still lose silver when you take the equipment off. Now, not only have we got these sales and stuff like that, well, we've of course got the new tank, the TCM AGS, the Cold War Premium Detente era tank, the Teledyne Continental Motors AGS. And of course, we've highlighted a video about this last week, which I will link at the end of this one. So it's got its own article. We go through all of that, and it is available for 21 days. To be able to purchase it, I think it's in the region of about 14,000 gold to begin with, and then it goes down as you go through a couple of weeks when the bundles get released, like the lower tier bundles get released. We've also got tanks added to the premium tech tree that you can purchase, and that is the Super Chaffee, the Basonte, the VK7501K, so you can purchase that with free XP, I expect. The E75TS, which is the Roger Dodger unskinned, and the M41D, the Chinese Walker Bulldog. Now, furthermore, of course, the tanks reforged, like with yesterday's video that we covered this, so you can have a look at that there. We've got the challenges for Poland Independence Day and New Colours Earn Challenge, so you can get some skins for your Polish tanks, being the TS6 40 TP, the 53 TP Markowskiego, and the 60 TP Lewandowskiego, which is, of course, the heavy tank line for the Polish line, and, of course, this is what they look like. If you want to purchase all of them straight up without doing the challenge, it will cost you 5,400, which is only a 10% saving. And furthermore, with this, if you do want to complete it, all you have to do is basically play through the game, place as a top XP earner on your team for 3 points, and you need to earn 75 new colour points, which is the same as getting 25 games as the top XP earner. And as you go down within the placing on your team, you'll get less points. So you basically just have to play a minimum of like 75 games coming within the top 7 on your team as an XP earner anyway. Of course, you don't actually get the 60 TP skin. For those of you wanting this one, you can only get the 53 TP and the 40 TP skin, and the 60 TP is one you'll have to purchase, which is a little bit disappointing. So yeah, I guess it's annoying. Of course, you can boost this if you actually play with either of the tanks or any of the tanks available within those skins. So if you play in the 40 TP, the 53 TP, or the 60, then you'll be able to actually earn extra points per game, and that's available twice per day. So if you play them twice, you'll be able to get those extra points. Then we've got the Not Forgotten challenge. It's essentially just a challenge to get some emblems. You can see them here. These are the emblems that you can get on screen right now. As far as extra stuff, we have 200% XP, which is basically 3 times XP when you play on this weekend or during the day, the 11th of November, of course, celebrating Veterans Day, and so yeah, it's a good time to be playing in terms of the XP. And of course, if you have managed to get your poppy, then make sure you do so at the store or wherever you can pick one up. Basically, it's always good to support the veterans and everyone involved in any of the armed conflicts around the world. And of course, then we have the typical weekly sales from Wargaming, which are the deals of the week, being the Panther 88. Avoid this one if you've played any of the kind of tier 8 mediums that are competitive. This one is kind of, it's bang average, probably below average in terms of how well it plays. Of course, you can make it work if you're a good player, but it's not generally an easy one for new players to play, or anyone that's not really played any of the German mediums. It's kind of a difficult play style. And then the Guardian STG, I think people fall into this trap thinking this is going to be a really good heavily armored Russian tank, but it really isn't. It's pretty much got no armor, and the 122 is nice, but to be honest, it gets punished so easily. The reload's a little bit too long, so when you're coming up against the mediums that you play against, they pen you because the armor doesn't work, and then you've got a really long reload, and often they get 2 shots in for every 1 you take. Yeah, it's just annoying in terms of playing that tank. I don't really like it. That's just my opinion though. I'm sure many of you do like the Guardian, but just not my personal choice. And then, of course, super savings, you can pick up the tier 8 STRV 81, so that is available. Of course, that's the medium tank, not the tank destroyer, and that will be at 50% discount. You have to earn 8,000 XP, and then you get the 50% discount offer. It's a personal offer, but it's not a personal offer because it's available to everyone on the game. Don't know why they called it a personal offer to begin with, but then as you move up and get more XP throughout the week, you'll be able to unlock the offer. So I like how they unlock the offer to be able to pay them money. Yeah, you basically can pick up the T26 E3 Eagle 7 medium, which is okay. It's a tier 7, 50% off. It may be some of your kind of idea, but to be honest, it's not something I would necessarily pick up. It will cost you about 3,350. And then the German tier 8 VK1601P, oh god, it's the Mauer Breaker, or like a Mauschen kind of low tier version. I wouldn't recommend this tank, although, you know, if you're interested in your super heavies and you're interested in premium tanks, then yeah, you'll be able to pick those up. Then, of course, we have all of the standard stuff, all of like the earn operations for the week, and obviously all of the sales that are ongoing, being the Centennial Chieftain T95, which we've done a video on, and the M50 Ontos. And then, of course, don't forget your new challenges that have come with the Season Pass this week, so make sure that you do those if you're interested in any of those. And, of course, don't forget the Daily Play Challenge to be able to potentially get a Jagdtiger 8.8 Black Edition and the T34 Black Edition as well, as part of like a RNG based loot box thing, and then the long haul as usual, and of course the community stream that will be on Friday at 2 PM Central. So don't forget any of that. Hopefully this video has kind of discussed everything that you'll need to know, and of course if you need to know anything extra, just comment down below, and obviously comment your opinions on this update and everything involved but with the game. If you want to check out those other videos that we've mentioned within this one, then of course they'll be on screen right now. I really hope you have a fantastic rest of your week as of the recording of this video, and I really hope that you'll join me in the next videos coming up. Goodbye.